little tidbits you get there early in the morning. Tom doing a great job with TNT. Also, follow along dtitrader.com/YouTube to join in for our live event. Welcome into our YouTube group over there. Just want to go ahead and say good morning, everyone. Get that typed in. Make sure you jump over into the chat, click that like and subscribe. dtitrader.com/YouTube. Click the bell to subscribe, click that thumbs up to give us a like, and stop in and say hello. We'll have our chatting going on that side as well as we go throughout the day. Wendy's there again this morning, so great to see everybody. The more participation, the better. Even if you're in the Zoom room, you can still pop over, click the like, and say hi, and we'll be happy to see you guys over there. Now, we're going to be talking about markets today, and if you've been paying attention to markets, you know that there is a very high degree of risk involved in trading. You and you alone will be responsible for all the decisions you make, so make sure you're well informed when you're making them, like following dtitrader.com/telegram, especially that TNT channel. Uh, but past performance is not indicative of future results. And even if you're using our information, make sure you use your own research and your own common sense and make choices that are right for you, because ultimately that is your responsibility. And wish you nothing but the best on that. Now, a couple news items here, and I thought this was kind of interesting, even talked about a little bit. For those of you in the Sunrise program over on Telegram, you saw my message this morning about that 66.22. But first of all, let's say that crude opened at 94.46. The overnight high was 96.45. Crude currently above that overnight high, just stretched up to 97.07. Trading back now at 96.75. So still some upward pressure on crude. Now, the March contracts have all expired. Here's the interesting thing for me. The low of RBX this morning, that's 7 a.m. Eastern time, was 66.22 quarter. And the reason that's interesting to me is that the low of the Genesis bar yesterday was 66.22 quarter. And also, just notice this as I was doing my research, putting everything together with the expiration day of, or today's expiration day, the March contract, which expired this morning, opened last night at 66.22.75. Now, I'm not much of a believer in coincidences, but you can put that together and tell me what you're seeing. The biggest thing that we're seeing, though, right now is that the low of the year is still 65.84.50, but the market made it down to 87.50. So got a lot going on with markets as you would expect on this witching day, this expiration day. So Tom, your opinion, I know you used that 45 pivot and that went out by the way before RBX. And you're now looking at 65.75 as support in this market. What are you seeing right now?
I'm not seeing very much that's very helpful if you're trying to be long. I went through all the stocks that I typically trade. Uh, Everything's pulling back, and I got my eye on Nvidia because if Nvidia breaks 174, turn out the lights. That's a low that I thought was a low that was going to hold, and it's getting close. It's Nvidia's at 175.72. Uh, the market is, if you look at the QQQ, it's at 585. Went down to the low of the day. The QQQ did to let me give it to everybody is 585. So that's it. That's an interesting support area, 585. But what I'm really, Chuck, what I'm really happy about is that ever since this turmoil started, I think I couldn't have done any better as somebody trying to tell you about experience because I told you, and Kerry reminded me of this, Tom, when you said circle the wagon before on that Friday, he eliminated most of his exposure, and he's sitting here fat, dumb, and happy as the market falls. And I
Yeah.
love hearing that because it's very tough to do what I did in a really a long-term bull market, but I had suspicions watching the numbers that they were going to attack Iran. And a mistake I made was I forgot just how gold and silver reacted in the first few days after that. They had that big rally and then they stopped and sold it because people started selling it. And I was expecting that, but the gap lower like it did, it just really was, that was a new one for me. But I think that if you will listen and follow what we do, I made the comment about TNT. I've been trying to get people all week to get in it. We follow every trade we do in here, and every one of those pocket puts that we've done, which I've never, I've been trading these things for years. I've never been able to have this much consistency in a trend headed down. And I like to get out of the things in the morning, wait Genesis to go by, put it on in the afternoon, because you don't go home without it. The VIX right now is at 25, and it's been hanging there. That's sort of the new normal. 25.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up that VIX, Tom, because you're talking about the pocket puts, and of course one of the things that you've stated over and over again in the room, as long as the VIX is above 20, and it is not just above 20, it's actually climbing a bit this morning.
Right. Okay. Uh, I believe that we just saw, you already copied what John just typed in there, John. I had a discussion with a student yesterday. I said, I think this is what we got to look forward to, because if everybody remembers, when we left Iraq with our blood and treasure, Trump was a real critic of not taking the oil. He won't stop in Iran until we control that Karg Island, and I think that's exactly what's been setting up. And they've been hitting it. They've been wiping out anybody that's around. And my guess is that will be the big news, and it could come as early as this weekend if everything's in place. I know that boat they sent over had 2,500 Marines in it, the one that's been there for about 4 or 5 days. So that could happen this week or next, and depending on where they are on their schedule. But my guess is, that will happen, and that will be sort of the climax of the sell-off, I think.
Yeah, and how it affects the market, of course, control of the Strait of Hormuz is going to have an effect on oil, right? So when we look at crude futures, looking at what's going on there, if we do have control over the Strait of Hormuz long term, that's actually going to be something I think, Tom, that should calm down oil prices.
Oh, it will. Oil's going to fall. This will blow your mind. All they talked all week was about oil going higher, but oil was down 4% coming into the day, Chuck. 4%.
Yeah, we dropped down to 92.47, and that's opening at 94.46 last night, and coming back from when I was updating the slides, I think we were at a 98 open the previous day. So going from 98 to 92, that's pretty big. Of course, we're back up, but yeah,
not really. I mean, if you think about it, Chuck, crude is right at the midpoint, and it's probably getting ready to go into the afternoon. You got the risk of the weekend, obviously. That'll keep some support under it. But
if I'm
I
not
think
mistaken,
that if you stand back and be honest about crude, everything that possibly man-made can be done to mitigate what's going on during the war, I think is being done. And I heard Scott Bessent yesterday talk about adding another 140 million barrels of
tap
oil.
in the reserves.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
we'll do that too. I'm talking about there's out on the water he's talking about. So that's interesting. So there's just a lot of things to think about. And it's a lot easier when you look up there at your equity and you don't see it declining when you see this kind of market. This market, it's left everything, what I would say, no place to hide, so to speak, right, Chuck? No place to hide. But there is one thing that I got to tell a funny story. Last night, I went through maybe 50 tickers trying to find something, and I landed on soybean. And so, well, how do you trade soybean? And and I said, well, I traded soybeans, learned from the best, uh, McFarland. And so last night I put on a soybean trade. Then this morning I put on a wheat trade, made money on the soybean trade, and up on my wheat. But think about it; those prices will probably graduate higher. The food. So you got to keep that in the mind too when you're looking at things. But anyway, Chuck,
Yeah.
it's really a, you just got to go to non-traditional places if you're a trader to find out where the odds are. And I found it over at soybeans and wheat. And that's been 8 years since I've traded either one of those two.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Tom, I know that.
Let me answer Trader Ann's statement, Chuck. I like to try to be responsive because if they go by, I miss it. Uh, Corn has always been my favorite of the three. I'll just tell you that. Like silver is my favorite of the metals. Corn has always been my favorite. There's your answer.
All right. Now, Tom, I know that Jonathan has put together some great slides for us today, so let's see if we can go ahead and get into our presentation. This is Friday, and we are doing Train and Trade every day in March at 11 a.m. Eastern, or at least Monday through Friday, every trade day. Reminder, all trades in Train and Trade are tracked through T-Buzz Talk and Trade, www.dtitrader.com/TNT. And if you were in there this morning, you got some great information as we discussed earlier, but let me go ahead and reiterate some of that from this morning, looking at the TNT channel and started out early, Tom. You were up before the sunrise. I'm getting messages coming in there at it was about six, about 10 after 6 when you started posting, 10 after 6 Eastern. We got the Magic 5, Palantir, NVIDIA, SQQQ, and two directions off of the QQQ. Where is resistance? Where is support? Right now, the QQQ still sitting in between those two numbers. So that's a nice framing job there. And we got also our pivot 6645. We spent most of the day already below that 6645 pivot. And you can tell what sort of a market we're looking at based on our relationship to the pivot right now. And of course, Tom, pointing out the pocket puts, they are doing great. And he gave us two big numbers again, reiterating the 6645 pivot and also support 6575. We'll see how that one holds up. I got to be honest with you, Tom. I hope we don't see how that one holds up, but I'm glad we've got it there to compare to. So let's move in and look at options education resources for those of you who want to take this information, be able to use it, and check that out. Free resource here, options education, dtitrader.com/optionsedu. Reformulated, looking great, should be easy for you to climb through. If you ever wanted to know a little bit more about options trading, that's a great resource to go and educate a little bit, learn a little bit. A couple other resources we've got. Tom's first book, Winning the Day Trading Game, is available on audio through the link here on the slide. Go ahead and click that link to listen in, or actually maybe wait and click the link after we're done here. DTI white paper booklet. Jonathan's put together specific topics so you can go through the white papers, find what you're looking for, and if there's something you don't see there, let us know and we'll see if we can make a few more. Tom's YouTube page. Going into that YouTube page right now. Let me refresh here. I want to see how many people are in the room. I've gotten 8 likes so far. Appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. We could use a few more. So anybody that wants to jump over, just click that link, like and subscribe, and talk to us in the chat. Wendy and B Jones are down there right now, and I'm in there too. So anybody else that wants to jump in, feel free to participate. Important terms to know. I got one for you. Rollover and expiration, witching. That's kind of an important term. If you want to know more about that, go ahead and click that link. Go through and look at those definitions. Tom Busby's penalty tape. For those of you who feel you might be a little bit off the beaten path, we call it the penalty tape because it puts you back on that beaten path, lets you know, gets you back to the core. So if ever you're lost a little bit, go and take the penalty tape, get back to the core benefits, that beaten path. We want to make sure you're on that as much as possible. Mention the Options EDU, dtitrader.com/Options EDU, and then Tom's BNN interview. Now, let's go through and look at some of these March FTD stocks. At some point, Jonathan's going to come over and take over. Before he does, though, I'm going to go ahead and click this link and we'll go ahead and jump in here. You can see he updated the information 9:39 a.m. Eastern, about a half hour ago. And we're looking at, look at that, top of the line VIX in January is at 14, in February at 19, getting a little bit scary. Open March at 24.66. We are still above, and it looks like I'm getting a new update coming in. We are still well above that 20 area. We're still above the March open. And as long as we're above these two opens, February and March, yeah, you got to watch out. You got to be careful about that. FTD high, FTD low, kind of putting that emphasis back on 20. You'll notice there aren't that many long views on this sheet right now. I do have crude long. We know about that, and crude related USO. And as we go down the list, I want to see if anything else pops up. Here we go. Micron. I know, Tom, you were enjoying that one. They had earnings earlier this week. We talked about that on Wednesday and Thursday, before the earnings and after. STX, WDC, and then keep scrolling down looking for anything else here. BTU. All right, that's a very short list of stocks that are actually showing up on the long side of the market. So we've got crude, we've got Micron, we've got STX, WDC, and BTU. So Jonathan, Tom, anything to add on to that very brief look?
No, I just think that when you see that kind of spread, meaning the everything's negative, except for things that are inverse to the general trend as crude prices. And by the way, I'd use 122 as the pivot number on USO. That'll tell us a lot. If we start getting above 122 today in the last 30 or 40 minutes, then I would expect we're going to see some action over the weekend. Keep that number in mind. There you go. It's a quick way to what I'm thinking anyway. If we see that above 122, that's a big resistance level up there, 122.
That was on USO?
Hold it. If it comes back below today's low, which today's low on USO, find that here. Big number. If it comes back below today's low, which is about 118, then I might consider doing another credit call spread on that. So anyway, there's some opportunity, but you got to take the dark side. I think that's where the odds are. Okay. Then did all that. Yeah, made profits shine on everything. So we've been playing that crude like a song so far. We'll keep doing that.
All right, sounds like a good plan. Let's see. I'm gonna see if we can get back to our slides here. And we're going to be talking about key numbers on the Seven Sisters for this week. And we got Jonathan popping in. He now has control of the slides. And Tom, it's been a fun Seven Sisters this week. I say fun in the most unironic way. As a trader, we kind of enjoy the opportunities, but as from the investment side, we certainly understand the pain that people are in, which is why we're looking at opportunities, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so ES futures, the E-mini S&P futures open this week at 66.59. Uh, they have a midpoint 67.10. I wonder if that's changed a little bit. Let's see, this week we're down 0.99%. Market trading at 66.07 right now. And Jonathan, you want to chime in at some point here? These are fun little charts.
Okay, let's see. Hang on a second. Make sure my numbers are right. 659 is the week open. All right, is the week open. Looks like the Thinkorswim charts had a little difference there from the rollover, but the 6659 is the official week open. And the midpoint is 6,700 now, so a couple points lower, more or less the same.
Yeah, we did have that drop down to 65.8750, so we changed it up a little bit. I thought that might be the case. They were holding up on 6,600 for a while there, though.
And at a current price of 6,600 or so, that it's about 0.9% for the week. Just get a live update. Close enough.
All right, there we go. And then NASDAQ futures looking pretty similar. Open the week 24,500. Midpoint 24,765. People forget these markets actually climbed at the beginning of this week. I think the S&P futures made it up to 68.14, and it gives you a sense of what the rest of the market was doing. We dropped back down in the past couple of days, but I think was it Tuesday night we were hitting those highs, Tom?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. So the market has had some movement. When you see these midpoints above the weekly opens, and yet the market's down this much, that tells you that there was uh, a change type event that occurred earlier in the week. All right. So NASDAQ 24,765, the midpoint down 0.97%. Currently at 24,280 with a low this morning of 24,231. So do the math on that. If you know the low is 24,231 and the midpoint up at 24,700, so that gives you an idea. 24,765. That gives you an idea of where the market was able to get to on the top side, just kind of in reference, because I think that there's this very negative sense of the market. Let's go ahead and move through. Let's see. What do we got? Dow futures open the week 46,800, 46,870 the midpoint, and down 1.55%. And again, the theme here, the midpoint above the week open, and yet the markets are down. So just gives you a sense of what the market was capable of. Let's go ahead and move through. We got crude futures. I know that, Tom, this is one of the markets you enjoy talking about. 98.76 the week open. In this case, the midpoint down at 95.96. And this week, crude actually negative. So I've got the direction of the market, the midpoint, the week open midpoint, and the direction of the market all pointing in the same direction, which in the case with crude, not necessarily what everybody's expecting. Well, except for
No,
you, of
and
course.
I've been having a real good, I would call a real good week in crude, and I plan on continuing to have it. And surprising to everybody, I was shorting crude this week, using the rallies and the sell-offs to take advantage of it. Yesterday was huge, with it falling
Yeah.
$5 or $6. So it's not what the news tells you, it's what the tickers tell you. And I
Always the
will tell
case.
people that anytime, the way I look at it, if there's somebody really good out there and you take opposite of that guy, it's okay. But nothing like experience. And I'd like to take my hat off to Scott Bessent, who came out and mathematically explained to the world yesterday why crude was going down. And it made so much sense. And then the market, had a delayed reaction, actually went up before it went down. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And so there's a lot of money to be made in crude. If you learn about crude, read about crude, it affects everything. And I think you just got to take advantage of it when you have this kind of market. Not this way every month, but it sure is this way this month. I'll say that. Okay?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date on that, make sure you're tracking dtitrader.com/telegram.
Yeah.
All right, so gold futures,
Yeah, and
we
let me
got
explain. Let me explain. You can go fast through gold and silver after giving the numbers, but my view, and people know this trading gold with me, I trade gold quite regularly and very aggressively in silver when it's time to trade it. I've talked about air pockets in the past. Once I hit one of these big extended air pockets that we're in, I'm patient. Your time will come, but this was a real issue because some of these stocks are hitting levels that I didn't think they would hit. And when I get surprised like that, I usually really circle the wagons because it's not fun every day to watch your account go down in value. And so gold and silver, in my opinion, got a lot of work to do before we're ready to rocket higher. And the other thing that's a factor I didn't count on, and this is a miss on my part, I knew that Jay Powell from the Fed, well, I'll just keep it simple. I knew he was an issue, but yesterday after the Fed meeting, that is overhanging this world that we live in. Higher interest rates, right? Higher interest rate. He's not leaving unless they take him out with armed guards. And the market didn't want to hear that.
all
And
right.
there's the
So
bond market.
yeah, bond market here 113.24 the week open, 114 the midpoint, down 0.91% this week. And that kind of gets back to we had crude and gold, which seem very certain of directions, but bonds here get back to what we're seeing with our futures markets, which is they were trying to move one way and then turned, and
Yeah, I mean,
seems
a
to be a
total
theme.
reversal. You can, if you got bonds, you can totally say Jay Powell did that.
All right. So let's see. What are other markets? Going to a live market, and I think Jonathan's going to take over at this point. So you gentlemen have some fun, and I'm going to listen in and jump over to that YouTube channel and see what's going on there.
Yeah, Chuck, and remember the number down there, the quarterly low. I wrote it down, 65.25. That's the big number way down there below my 75 support. Let's go live, Jonathan.
Okay. I'll draw a line down there. Tom's talking about the last fourth quarter low of last year. There
Yep.
it is. There.
You get below that, the thing gets deeper.
Okay, Tom, I got the S&P showing. What time frame do you want?
I don't know. What was that chart you did have up there?
That was a weekly chart initially.
That's the week. Go from the weekly to the daily.
There's the weekly. Here comes the daily. Right there.
That green bar over there has got a low down there at my support, 65.75. I think I got a good number there for support if it holds. Okay.
65.75. Then down to 65.25. Here's the 30-minute for today.
This is the key bar of the day. Does everybody see when I talk about, is it a continuation day or are we going to make lows and recover? If we recover, that 45 up there will be your resistance. But if we don't recover, this is what's so important about this time of day. Does everybody understand we just started the Genesis period? But we got to see. I don't know the answer to that question I just gave you, but I can tell you one thing. This is a very key time period on Friday to look at. So. All right, NASDAQ.
Hop over to the weekly NASDAQ. There it is. We want to mark the fourth quarter low. That was down at 23,904. 23,904. We got down to 24,000 last week.
Yep, below that, isn't it?
Here's the daily. There's that low from last week. That green bar low came just shy of the fourth quarter low last year. That's right, John. 65.25 to 65.75 on the S&P. You got it. And here's the NASDAQ reflecting very similar to what you saw on the S&P for the day. Let me circle the Genesis bar. Let's go back to the S&P real quick, Tom, and look at resistance. Since we're doing this, the midpoint of RB, or the low of RB3 was 66.05. That's just slightly higher than where we're at now. But the midpoint of the RB3 is up at 66.24. Call it 25, 66.25.
Yeah. I think what you got now, people are looking and trying. Traders are probably at lunch or looking at things saying, is this thing going to continue? Is it a buy, for today? Everybody's trying to make their mind up just like we are, okay?
Yep. There's 5 levels in the S&P. Take a picture of that.
Yeah, take a picture of those 5 levels. That'll help you.
Here, I'll put on the slide for us, or a slide for us once we go back to that. Let's go to the Dow. Weekly Dow. Fourth quarter low was this low here from October. Let's see, what was that? 25,387. Toggle it to the daily. There's the daily in relation to that fourth quarter.
And by the way, the Dow, as I call it, the show horse. Typically, most people follow the Dow, which I think is okay, but really it's a show horse, meaning this is sort of what Wall Street wants to show you, where people calm down or whatever. So it gets really doing its own thing sometimes during these times of turmoil. But if you look at that chart, it's clearly in a downtrend and with destination of 45,000. So we'll see.
All right, I guess we got the 30-minute chart there. You can see Dow mirroring the S&P now. NASDAQ. One thing got to say, they're trading together. So, in that sense, it's not a confusion. They're just weak. Let's go to the crude oil. There's crude oil on the weekly chart.
Yeah, remember we went to, I think, 150 yesterday, didn't we? 150, something like that.
100.50.
And yesterday's low was, what was yesterday's low? Remember?
Yesterday's low was 92. I'd like to see it below that, if possible.
Yep.
And here's 30-minute on crude.
And by the way, you can use crude to gauge my opinion. If crude is falling, then they're probably not going to be ready to go to Operation Card. Okay? If it's rising, maybe they will. Flexibility is the key to staying alive.
Okay, real quick. gold, weekly. Fourth quarter low is way down here at 39.01. More importantly, is this low here at 44.23. That's the first quarter low this year. Here's daily chart and the 30-minute chart. Here's bonds on a weekly chart.
Thank you, Jay Powell.
There's the daily. Here's 30.
That's why I like the Anchor program.
Now, this chart will show you just how far bonds have moved today. It moves 1 point typically in a day. It's moved over 2 points today, and that's why the chart and zones look kind of all scrunched up here at the bottom. It has moved just way too far today compared to normal movement. Any stocks, Tom? Any stocks that we want to look at?
Yeah, let's start with the one I've been trading heavily, MU. Draw a line at 448.
That's the weekly. Here comes the daily. 448, essentially the week open. So it's basically stacked on that blue bar that was there, or blue line.
And what's that low for the week? The key number.
Yesterday's low down at 421.
And it's currently trading 429. Okay. That could be a possible trade. Okay. To the downside, if that breaks. Okay. Palantir.
Palantir.
That stock, you know, for a stock that's been so volatile its whole life, it's really held up real good during this war and prior to the war, if you look at it. You know, I got a buyout at 155.55, wherever getting close above that, but it sure can't do it.
$155.55.
NVIDIA.
Daily chart of NVIDIA here.
I don't know if y'all remember, I thought the low, the 174 area low, was the low of the year the last time we came down here. If it breaks 174, y'all might see me rarely go short NVIDIA and hedge it with a married call. Because if it breaks 174 near the close today, I would go short NVIDIA and hedge it with buying a call expiring Monday. Y'all know what I'm talking about when I say that? So I'd sell the stock if I'm in the last 30 minutes, then I'd buy that call at the strike where I sold it, and go into Monday with it being short. I would do that. That's the way I would trade it. If I do the married call, I will do a Monday expiration. And the call is to protect me if I'm wrong. I would take that trade if it broke. Because I think being short, I probably cover what I'm going to pay for it in the after hours when people realize what I realized, that it closed below the low. Maybe get out at extended hours and see if it reverses by Monday. We'll see. I think it's a good trade. I'm going to do it if it breaks 174. Kevin, since you're a new subscriber, you got a special request. I will post it inside TNT if I do it. How you like that? I will post it. Thank you for your nice comments, by the way. Yeah, there's a TNT. Let's see. Time-wise, it's 11:42. We've looked at, all right, put the QQQ in there. draw a line, if you will. Let me give you the numbers. This is the line you want to draw. Draw a line on the QQQ at 588.55. 588.55. You do that on a daily. Can you do it on a 30-minute?
Yep. If it follows us over there. Yeah, there we go.
There's your resistance on the QQQ, okay? There's the resistance of the QQQ. All right, the SPY. Let's look at the SPY. All right, draw a line on the SPY. Let me give you the line. Come on, baby. Where's that line? 654. Where's the SPY? 652. 654.55. Draw a line there. Okay. Now, when I say make moves around the reference bars, does everybody understand what I'm talking about? For example, if I needed to sell a call against a stock on, I would do it when one of the reference bars turned negative for entry. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about? If in fact I wanted to sell a call against something I owned, I'd sell it right around the reference bar, and I would put maybe a week on it. Okay, so you see right now, let's put a stock in there and show them what I'm talking about. Put MU in there. MU.
MU.
All right. If I was going to sell a call and wanted to hold this stock, I'd already sold it up there on RB3. See that? Showing that RB3 break. That negative break there. Use these reference bars for finesse, and he'll circle it right there. There's RB3, and I would have shorted a call against it at that time. Now, since I'm in Genesis, if Genesis is negative, I'd do it again. Okay? If Genesis is positive, I'll wait to RB2 to do it. So I use these reference bars for finesse in my account because that's the best way you can enter a covered call or a short call at that time by watching these reference bars. You will get used to not making a move unless you look at the reference bar. Okay? And one we've got that we're doing right now is Genesis. So that's sort of what we're looking at. Everybody understand that? That's very important. Okay? And that helps people maybe thinking about selling covered calls, gives them a technique. Do it that way over time for the reference bar. Trying to understand if I'm long 100 shares of XYZ and I want to stay long that stock, I don't know why you would, but then I would sell a call out the next Friday. Say if it was Apple, I'd sell a call next Friday. I hope that helps you because nobody ever gave me that advice. Probably the best advice I've given in the last 30 minutes. All right, we looked at some stocks there. Let's look at DBA. That's a commodity stock, DBA. Now, you're getting a sort of a reflex market there. I think that's good. That's good. You'd have to take out the buy signal to consider going long commodity. I probably wouldn't go long today, but I'm just saying that's what I would consider. All right, we did DBA. Let's look at soybean /ZS. It's so funny. I hadn't traded in 8 years.
Are they on May? Their time?
Yeah, May. That's soybean. I sold out, took a profit there, put wheat in there, ZW. Yeah, see, everybody see wheat right there? That's where I got in, somewhere around here. If it breaks, I'll take my loss at 596.75, goes below that. Okay. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that. We put corn in there. We're doing it in ZC. And Jonathan, I don't know if you want to, but you could add it to the sheet since I'm sort of focused on it during this turmoil. We can remove it after that. Put it in our 3-day algo sheet.
Soybeans and wheat. We can do that.
And corn.
And corn. Let's see. I'll verify it. They're all on May. I know sometimes they have different rollover schedule.
Yeah, sometimes you get wheat in a different month. Okay, I want to be very clear what I think. Now, I told you this, that I was going to be in cash, and I'm doing targeted plays. The reason I went to cash in my trading account, because I got tired of watching the depreciation in this market and said, I'm not doing it anymore. I just go cash and I will do targeted plays. I'm going to stay in that position until the sun starts coming up again. Right now, we have no worry about that happening. You get a rally today, okay? You get a rally. So that's my position. I'd rather be operating in cash rather than being into the market. No. And so that's just something to keep in mind. That's me. That doesn't have to be you. That's the way I feel about it. Okay. So I want everybody to understand that. Okay. Because I know a lot of people every day look at their equities down. It depresses me because there's nothing you can do in a market like this long term. As John just typed in there, cash is king. It is really king right now. That doesn't mean that we won't get back in next week or Monday or Sunday or whatever, but the numbers have to justify it. Okay. I honestly believe that this market is probably one of the toughest markets, I'll just give you my opinion, I've ever traded because of that. And because of that, you got an I never thought these pocket puts would pay what they did. I mean, we're going to look at that slide in a little bit and just show you just how powerful that is. Okay, because I think I'd rather have money coming out of this thing than have my account down so far it'd be hard to bring it back. And that's where the way I'm thinking. Okay. So even the shorts that I do, I'm hedging myself, but pretty much I like to be as I said, I like to be light of foot. Okay. All right. Give me a yes if everybody understands what I'm saying. Here, this is a very important message. This is beyond circle your wagons. I'm hoping we get a low in place that we can trade, because I do believe we'll get one. But I'm not a bottom picker trader. I just don't like the pain and suffering. I can get in anytime. Okay. All right, let's go to Jonathan. You got my pocket put. Can you put that up there?
Yeah, it's part of the slides here. I think it's lesson number 1 actually for the week. So let's just go through it. Here you go.
Okay. Folks, who's been doing the pocket puts? Has anybody sent me any love letters about the pocket puts, or have y'all been too busy? I think that to me, in my history of doing pocket puts, have never, in my opinion, had a record like that. Typically, I'll lose some money on the thing and market reverse. But my rule is to get back in. We took profit again this morning. My rule is to get back in before today. Okay. And but I'm gonna keep some in my account for that overnight action that invariably will happen. Okay. But the pocket puts is a simple concept. It doesn't have to be complicated. But basically, we go out 30 days and we find a spread on the QQQ. And we usually pay anywhere up to 50 cents for it. Last one, I think, was 48. We take profit in the morning when it pays, then we set it up again that night. 2, 4, 6 trades. That's unbelievable. So let's just think about something. You know, I've been trying to get you to join. We had, by the way, thank all the new people that joined me in TNT this week. What a deal. I made you. But I said, if you join, I would not start running your tab except from April. So if you join, you get the rest of next week. Not part of it. It's $200 a month. And we track these pocket puts in there, timing. And our timing has been superb. You can look at that, okay? And so anyway, just letting everybody know, we will put some on at the end of the day, and the timing will happen when we think the time is there. So we'll be back into pocket puts, and we'll do that through TNT. All right, thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for a slide. Number 7 coming up.
You got it. You got it. Lesson number 2 this week, start reading 101. We covered a lot whole week.
Yeah, this was something that we covered. If you look at it, if I'm thinking about going long, I'm looking at higher highs and higher lows. If I'm thinking about going short, I'm looking at lower highs and lower lows. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. Okay, if I'm going to stay out at the key time, I'm waiting for a break of staying out. Okay, and that's the way I do it. Any questions about how to read a chart? You know how to read a chart. Look at the last 2 bars. That's the decision you make off your compass. See where we're trading. And that's the way we improve your results.
Lesson number 3 was reference bar times.
You go through this one.
Well, if you've been here all week, you know the importance of it, but take a picture so you can study over the weekend, and I'll post the reference bar white paper. It's really the link to the entire booklet of white papers, but you'll find, I think the 3rd one on the list is the reference bars. It's probably not a more important concept to learn here at DTI, so make sure you really take this seriously. The only way to view intraday trading, in our opinion.
Yeah, and speaking of that, working with the Traders Almanac people doing the commodities trading, this is going to be in there. So,
good.
You know, we're sharing it with everybody. We'll give it away for free, so we might as well put it in.
And lesson number 4, I called it, you know, that quote, "A picture is worth 1,000 words," because this is really showcasing what understanding time of day and why the reference bars are placed where they're at can bring value to you in terms of when to expect accelerations of the trend and reversals of the trend. This does a really, really good job of kind of visually depicting that. So take a picture, again, study it. That was lesson number 4 for the week. And we actually covered it 3 or 4 times, I guess, throughout the week of Trade and Trade.
Yeah, I'd print that chart off just to remind you how important reference bars are.
Lesson number 5, Tom, was married puts. What a married put is. Of course, that's if you own 100 shares of stock, you can protect yourself You can put a floor on that stock by buying a put, one put for every 100 shares long. And with, of course, after the married puts, there's the married calls. I know some people were typing to the chat. This first time they heard about married calls today or this week in Trading Trade. So we're always happy when we get people learning something new during the week. Married calls.
The last time we covered married calls was 2022 in the bear market. After I had a seminar, I realized people didn't know how to protect themselves on going short and stuff like that. So we did a whole hour and a half of it on that seminar. This is the first time that we're using it again because this is extended beyond what I was expecting. And I think you just got to be aware of it.
I remember that, and I remember a lot of comments saying, Tom, are you really going short? This was at the very beginning of 2022, and you go back and look at what happened in that year. And one of the reasons, ironically, not, I guess not ironically, was inflation is transitory. And that's number 9 here with the Fed. But before we get there, there is a futures class that is open in July.
By the way, there's not 8 seats left anymore. We got maximum capacity in April, and we got actually 6 seats available in July. 6 seats.
6 seats. Okay, let me update the slide here. And I'll get the link.
And here's what happens, folks. A lot of people come for the first time next month, and they will buy a 3-class package. So we have to account for that. But this is after Sawgrass. It's always packed to the gills, and I'm not going to take beyond 8. It's just too many. So if you're thinking about it, please let Kelly Barber know. Get everything squared away, but it's coming sooner than you think.
Number 8 was decision time, Tom, for gold and silver. Now we've been holding, you've had a portfolio of stocks for Precious Metals Plus from way back in 2024, and we closed that this week. Talking about just flat out cash invested, that was a 51% return. It'd be 100% on margin.
So who's your go-to guy when it comes to gold and silver? I earned that title after 20 years of studying it. I think that when I tell you there's an air pocket going on, there's an air pocket.
T-Buzz.
Wow.
More importantly, going forward, you gave a couple of numbers there to settle.
Get back in. Let's check those out. GLD right now is 418. We're not even close. SLV 7055. I will update these numbers throughout the month of March, but right now I'm going to leave them there.
Okay.
I'll tell you sometime midday next week as we're near the end of the month where we can lower those numbers a little bit.
Sounds good. I'll leave that slide up for the moment in case you want to take a picture of this and wait for update next week. Now, I'm not trying to set you off, Tom, but lesson number 9 was Powell.
Let me just be very clear. If you're expecting the Federal Reserve to help the economy, to help the war effort, if you expect anything out of this guy, I think you're going to be waiting. And he has showed tendencies to really not do his job. And they were comparing him to what they did over in Europe, talking about the war effort and the difference in the two. Europe, I guess, did a better layout, talking about stuff, which I thought was so good. Okay.
And lesson number 10 was automated analysis at DTI.
Yeah, how many people signed up for any of the automated programs? Don't they help you? I mean, right now, this is a great time for you to learn these programs inside and out and take advantage of the work we've done, giving it and serving it to you. Once you get these automated programs set up, it cuts your work schedule way down and you get in the right area to make the money. Sunrise signals short and short go. No bias when it goes to these signals. That's interesting. Generated a short on Wednesday. That's a heck of a trade. It's there if you want to read it and use it. Gives you option plays and all that. How about that one? That would have paid for all the programs. Now, this is the biggest opportunity I see right now is my anchor trade. Folks, if you want diversification, if you like buying wholesale and selling retail, which I love this concept, this is a trade that's sort of outside the direction of the stock market, but it's sure nice to book those great wins on these percentages. That's what that is the trades that are made off the system. Now I've got a master class, okay, that I put together that will multiply the trades you get. But it's very profitable to be an anchor. Very profitable. This is a great presentation, by the way, John. I want to comment to you. For our last public experience, I think you outdid yourself.
I enjoyed putting this together, Tom. Thanks for the idea.
Well, you were an integral part of building this one, you know, and I'll be putting it on today. That'll be a trade I do. It sets up. There's the links if you want to buy these programs, Sunrise, Genesis, and Orion. They got specials on all of them. And you can claim your acre. If you don't have anchor, I mean, goodness gracious. One or two trades risking $1,000 will pay for this one real quick. Get your anchor, get in that platform. One of the webinars I do want to have, John, is I want to, if it's okay, I want to do an update to my masterclass. I've learned so much watching the thing. This thing is so valuable taking the masterclass. We'll do that if we get a bunch of new membership. Okay. There's the links for the individual ones, Sunrise, Genesis, Orion, which is going to keep you in tune. And I call that a portfolio adjustment in there. And then, of course, everything else. Okay. Pretty good stuff. Wendy says, I got it all. You got, and if we were playing 7-card stud, Wendy, if we were playing 7-card stud, you would have what's known as a full house. Nobody can beat you. I'm a poker player. I don't want to get in a poker game with her. She's smart. Okay, so Jonathan, let's play a recording. I want to thank everybody for a great week of education and trading. We'll put the anchor trade on in TNT before the end of the day. I'm debating whether to do a weekend side hustle trade. Depends how that last hour looks. So stand by. Other than that, Jonathan's going to take a needed break. Chuck's going to take a needed break. Guys, if you knew what it took to put all this together to be for you here, you'd be telling 10 or 15 people to come. Pretty wild. So play the tape. And the tape just give you more details, get you off the fence.